Today we answer the hardball questions other YouTubers refuse to ask. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee. Let's answer some questions. So if you get out your pen and paper, we have about 87 questions to go through. Shouldn't take more than 2 to 3 hours. It's going to be great. Just kidding. We're going to pick out a few of them. I put out a community post and said, ask me whatever you'd like to ask me. And then I'm going to choose some of those questions and talk about them. That's it. It's that simple. So let's get started. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe and like this video. I do this for a living, so when you like the video and subscribes, it goes out to more people and it helps me build the channel. So thank you so much for watching. Mike from North Carolina. This is a good one. Are you able to be as honest with your current reviews compared to the first reviews you recorded for the channel? Wow. Yes, I think I'm more, I wouldn't say, I've never been dishonest. I think I've felt pressure to maybe highlight the positive aspects of a component over any of the negative aspects early on, because I was just excited that people, or when I say people, I mean companies, were sending me products and I wasn't having to buy everything. I think a good reviewer talks about what a speaker is and isn't. Most modern electronics all have some redeeming factors. There are some cases when it's just a bad product. Most of the products, though, from reputable manufacturers, are good. They may be good in different ways, but they're all good. And I think it's lazy to say this is a terrible product or this thing is garbage. I think I've evolved as a reviewer. I will talk about the positives. I will talk about some of the things that I don't specifically like. And then I will talk about things that I like personally, or if a speaker or amplifier or whatever isn't to my taste, but that doesn't apply to everybody. I think it's a great time in audio because most of these products are good, but I'm never saying things are just complete garbage anymore, because I actually think that's lazy as a reviewer. Theo, all the way from Europe, has a kind of in-depth and hard to answer question, but we're going to do our best. If you could buy the best available speaker at every $100 price point, up to $100, $100 to $200, $200 to $300, etc., at which price point would you have a hard time telling the difference? This is basically the age-old question of diminishing returns. The problem with speakers is they all somewhat have a different sonic characteristic. Even if overall it's a flat response or slightly U response, they're still going to have finite differences in specific frequencies. So no two speakers are really going to sound exactly alike. So speakers are tough because they also have a different complement of drivers. They could be 3-way, they could be 2-way, also different materials. Paper woofers, soft dome tweeters, aluminum tweeters, titanium tweeters, ribbon tweeters, ad infinitum. If you have two good ones, they both have great enclosures, low resonance that's happening, there will be differences, but those have mostly to do with the frequency response and then the degree at which the cabinet is braced. And then you could really get into, okay, crossover components. Really, the only thing that crossover components do is slightly increase the efficiency, especially on the woofer side, and then sometimes clean up things a bit. So there'll be better instrument separation. All things created equally, though, there's going to be differences. Whether or not those differences are better or worse really is up to you, the listener. I'll close it up with this, though. I think that question better applies to amplifiers and DACs, because amplifiers and DACs don't have that variability in frequency response that speakers do. I would say once you get up to about the $1,000 range on an integrated amp that does not have a DAC, I think at that point it's going to be more difficult to hear the difference between that and a $2,000 and $3,000 amp than anything else. Very difficult question to answer, though, because there is variability in every component, including electronics, but speakers especially. Mark from Germany asked, what are my opinions on the Fire Stick as a streamer? I'm assuming an audio streamer. As a video streamer, it's great. It's tough on an audio streamer. I've tried to use the Fire Stick as an audio streamer. I use an HDMI audio extractor to get an optical signal out of it and going into a DAC, because the Amazon EcoStruxure did recognize that Fire TV stick as being an option to basically just connect via the Amazon Music app. It was sketchy at best. If you're running into an AVR receiver and you can use the screen as a control, it can be better. But I found for a lot of the audio apps, Amazon Music, which it should work with seamlessly, was still sketchy. And then you have to talk about resolution. If resolution matters to you, I don't know if you're getting the full 24:192 or whatever resolution that it was mastered in. If it works smoothly for you and you don't care about resolution, then I think that's a viable option if you're using the TV as control and you're going into an AVR receiver. Outside of that, I think it's just too sketchy. And the Weem Mini is just too affordable at $80 to really try to put a square peg in a round hole. Alan or Alun from Great Britain, the UK. What's your view, advice on turntable isolation devices? I don't really have any experience with that. I have heard some people get a wooden cutting board from IKEA to use that as kind of a stable platform to put your turntable on. So I think it comes down to damping vibrations, and I think that's what the cutting board is used for. But then it's also coming down to your stand, what other components you have in the rack. I think if you just have the turntable on maybe a console or something, probably going to be easier. But I would be remiss if I was giving out any advice on this. I think there's some other channels that you can check out that probably know a lot more about this than I would. But I've heard that the cutting board trick does wonders and you can tell a difference. So I would start with that if you're on a budget. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe and like this video. I do this for a living, so when you like the video and subscribes, it goes out to more people and it helps me build the channel. So thank you so much for watching. Raphael from the US asks, are there audio items optimized for low volume listening? The answer to that question is yes. It depends though, and it's very selective, especially with speakers. Some speakers are much better for low volume listening than other speakers, and the amplifiers. Actually, the loudness control. The loudness control was created to basically mimic what reference listening sounds like at lower volumes. And what it really does is boost the bass and boost the treble and really adjust the mid-range depending upon the volume that you're listening at. Yamaha actually has a variable loudness control. And really what it just does is it goes like this, and the louder you get it, the more close to flat is. The problem is that some people don't like a completely reference flat line, like myself. I always like to have a little bit of boost on the bottom, a little bit of sparkle on top. But when you're choosing an amplifier, you probably want to go with one that has a loudness button or loudness control. Better yet, get a affordable EQ, a 5-band, a 4-band. Schmidt has the Loki Mini. They also have the Lokius. Bellari has a 5-band. And Duke Audio also has a 5-band EQ that you can create your own loudness button at whatever listening levels you have. As far as speakers go, I think the Sony SSCS5s are sparkly enough. You may need to boost the bass at lower volumes with an EQ. Also, the Weem Pro and Weem Mini both have EQs. There's actually a really good speaker by Aperion Audio that sounds great at lower volumes. If you're really on a budget, I would look at the Mookie, the 3-way speaker, or the 2-way. They're about $65 to $85. Finally, last question comes from David from Canada. Wow, we have a lot of folks from not the US. I have a vintage receiver and I want to add streaming to it. I know a Weem Mini Plus, like a Shelly J2, would likely be your recommendation, but is there an inexpensive one-box solution you'd recommend? Yeah, you get the Weem Pro, and it's about $150. I think it has a similar DAC to the Weem Mini, which is $80. But with this, you can just go 3.5 millimeter out into RCA in. I think the gold standard for somewhat reasonably priced streamers would be the Blue Sound Node. I think the new one probably has as good of a DAC as anything else in the price category. Problem is that's $500. There are also products from Arylic. I think Arylic. They come in around, I think, $150 to $200. And I think they've updated their playback options, so I think things do play gaplessly now. Andover has the Andover Songbird, which is fairly inexpensive, I think around $100. But the ones that I have the most experience with is obviously Weem, and you don't need an external DAC. I think it makes it sound a lot better, but you don't technically need an external DAC. Then the Arylic stuff. I'm not sure what the DACs are in there, but I believe some of the latest products actually have like a decent Sabre DAC in them. I'll try to link some of these in the description. And then the gold standard is Blue Sound. Those are the options. There's some off brands that use some of the same chipsets. I would stick with Arylic, Weem, Blue Sound, Andover. So if you want to support the channel, you can sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/cheapaudioman. Zooms, Facebook group, Discord. You can use any of the links in the description, affiliate links. Those means if you bid, you can also use the affiliate links in the description, which means if you click and you buy, I get a commission, but it doesn't cost you any more, so it's a great way to support the channel. Also, use the thanks button. Buy me a cup of coffee, but don't feel compelled to buy me anything. And just like this video and subscribe. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen through your awesome hi-fi system and fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I don't know what I'm the Cheap Audio Man.